Good evening, welcome. Thank you for joining Bent TV. Coming up, Ginny and her woman in media who also tackle the use of the word gossip. Nate, talking all things trans. Tonight, fashion and clothing. But first up, on a lighter note, we have Mark and his guests discussing body image and bears.
Hi, I'm Big Bear Mark, and welcome to the Bear Cave. Tonight, I've got a couple of people with me. I have, as usual, Luke the Wonder Cub. How you going, Luke?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. I've got Erin O'Neill, who is the current Mr Australasian Bear 2014 and coordinator of Bear Heart as well. And, of course, at the end, we've got Rusty. Hello, Rusty.
Hi,
and this is Steve Scalone. He is a commercial photographer.
Hello.
And tonight what we'll be doing is we're talking about body image and bears. Now, bears sort of have this image as being maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit weight's a bit heavier, hairy, definitely. We've all got beards, let's face it. Do you think that's a reasonable representation of a bear, Luke?
Yeah, I think it's a stereotype. I think stereotypes are there for a reason because usually they're pretty close to what the reality is, to a point. I think the bears obviously want to include everybody, and if you want to be a bear, that's fantastic. But, I mean, I wouldn't call myself on the overly chunky side. I'm a bit overweight, but I'm not overly chunky. Shut up. But I have a beard. I have that going for me. So I've got a really good beard, and that usually gets me far enough.
Yes, because we've, like on the panel, we all have our beards. We love our beards, of course. And talking about a good beard, at the end here we have Erin. Erin, you're Mr Australasian Bear 2014. Now, you're not fat, and you're not. So do you think that you represent bears?
I think I represent... I do represent bears. I don't think that being a bear is one particular image or one particular look. I don't think you have to have a beard to be a bear. I don't think you have to have a big belly and a big chest or anything like that. For me, it's more how you feel about yourself and whether you identify with being a bear. And for me, for years I didn't have a beard, so I was in a job that I wasn't able to have a beard, and I still identified with the community or something that I felt that I belonged to, well before I came out even.
Yeah, and I think part of the bear ethos is that we are, well, we try to be accepting. So doesn't matter what you look. Though, Steve, I still think that bears are seen as the older, fatter, hairier. Being a commercial photographer, though, your business is about image, and you've done a lot of work with the bear community. How does that image fit with your work?
Well, basically, I guess, in terms of working with a community organisation or a number of them, a certain amount of stereotypical cliche type of thing is kind of accepted, and I guess from a commercial point of view, if you're producing some kind of advertising or something like that, it is actually accepted or kind of encouraged purely because you can, well, the bear community, whoever they may be, can actually easily identify with it. Be it for a dance party or kind of sexual health promotion or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Now, in the last year or two, we have had a bit of a change of focus, I think, in the bear community, especially with bear clubs, calling for more realistic, not Photoshop, like realistic models in their promotions to more reflect what a bear is.
Yes.
And I think that comes out of, there was a big time when we were looking at muscle bears all the time, and that didn't really fit into the ethos. Do you think that's still the case?
Yeah, I do. I kind of love where the community's going, and it's the same in terms of kind of hetero fashion, I guess, where beauty isn't such a cliche anymore, that everyone is kind of pushing to be a little bit more inclusive and things like that.
Yeah. Luke, I mean, we all like a hot bear, don't we?
Yeah, and I think we're taking steps towards this stuff in terms of using, you know, regular Joes as icons and stuff like that, which is fantastic. But at the same time, still, when you look at a poster for a bear party, you're going to see that stereotype big, chunky, furry, beardy kind of bear. You're not going to see the average guy on there still. So we're making moves towards that, but it's not there yet.
I mean, I can't talk because I was on a poster for a bear event.
And you're big, chunky, beardy, older.
Yeah.
So you meet those three things
Those
really
criteria.
clearly.
But Erin, don't we like to see maybe, a muscle bear now and again?
I think so, and I think you've got to cater to the majority of the market, and in any bear club or any marketing sense, you're always going to cater to the majority of what people want to see. Now, whether that's at the time it's a muscle bear or something like that, it doesn't have to reflect every single individual person within the community. It's an overall generic thing, especially if you're promoting a party. But within a club like Vic Bears, that's different, where you don't just promote the sexiest looking guy out there or the nicest looking guy out there, because you can't do that. You've got a broad community of people.
And in fact, Bear Heart is actually a health side of the Bear Club, where we promote healthy living and get people out walking and that sort of thing. You're a coordinator of Bear Heart.
So I've just taken over the Bear Heart coordinator role, and in terms of that role, what I'll be doing is coming up with events like Aquabear. So we have things like Aquabear where we go swimming, health initiatives, bears on bikes, go for a ride, and we just try and get the community out there and involved in some activity. It's very easy to find. It's on Facebook, Bear Heart, H-A-R-T, and it's part of the Vic Bears group. So, if you're interested, come along, join on.
Cool. Luke, do you ever feel pressure that you need to be bigger?
Yeah, actually, yeah. As a young person as well, entering the community several years ago as a cub, I think that being a bit skinnier, I found myself being more attractive to more people once I got bigger. It absolutely happened that way.
Interesting.
Some people definitely went for me when I was skinnier too. That was part of it too. Some people like that. But as I've gotten a bit older and a bit bigger, I've certainly found that people that used to not even look at me all of a sudden go, you've become a bear now. And it changed completely. Like I'd graduated or something. Like I put a mortarboard on, threw it up in the air, and I became a bear somehow. So it did change. It was about 2 or 3 years ago I noticed that sort of shift. So it's weird.
Yeah, so, terms like twink and, we're looking at skinny things, skinny boys. I mean, they may not necessarily feel welcome within the bear community.
I think that highlights a really important point, though, in that there is such a diversity within our community, such a diversity within the gay community in general, with any community. And the one thing that I really love about the bear community is that it is inclusive and it's open. So you don't have to look a particular way. You don't have to act a particular way. You can feel like a bear and still be a bear. You can have no hair on your body whatsoever and still be in a bear club and be part of it. So
that's right.
Yeah.
There's always somebody out there who's going to be interested in your particular look. And there'll be people out there who aren't interested in your particular look. So, you as a skinny man or you as a bigger man, doesn't really matter.
I think that's a perfect place to leave it, because I think you agree we have to be inclusive, and it doesn't matter what you look like, you can come along and be part of the bear community.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to thank you guys for coming on today.
Thank you,
and I'm Big Bear Mark, and this has been The Bear Cave.
Hello and welcome to Lost in Translation, where we look at issues underneath the gender microscope. I don't know. Let's go with that.
Stuff.
General stuff. Yes. So tonight I'm joined by Simona and Kurt. So welcome to the show. So I thought that we'd have a bit of a chat about fashion and clothing, because I suppose going through transition is something that I notice is that my wardrobe has changed quite considerably. And it's actually been a recent thing that I've finally reclaimed checked shirts. Because I know it's the height of fashion, obviously.
It's great timing.
Yeah, exactly. But because when I was very early in transition, I would be wearing checked shirts, and whenever I was wearing a checked shirt, I'd be read as a lesbian, and that was always universal. It would always be when I was wearing a checked shirt, and I finally sort of built up the courage to sort of venture back down that.
Get a stripy white shirt up.
I know.
No check today?
No check today. Still not quite at that level of comfort. I'm approaching that. How I suppose for you guys, how has that been, that sort of negotiating what you're wearing and clothing and things like that?
Well, it's interesting you make that point, because the first 12 months was trying to get really femme, and then I was like, Oh, but I really like, some of the stuff I used to wear, like band T-shirts and all that kind of stuff, So, I think like the first year was trying to really see how I would go feminizing, and then it was going back to what I would always wear. So then I had this mix, which was pretty good. Yeah. So, and now I'm at that great point where I'm just starting to put on a bit of weight and stuff, and those fabulous investments I made on clothing, in the first few months is like, just trying to fit into those now a little bit. So, it's, estrogen puts on a little bit of weight in some different places, which is great, I saw my first stretch marks and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, this is awesome, just getting it, it's happening, So anyway, and like chicken fillets on the back of my arms. Like there's a photo of me a couple of weeks ago and I've just got all this stuff coming out the back and I'm like, yeah, bring it on,
I've never heard of anyone wanting bingo wings.
Well, I never wanted it. I just saw it and I just went, oh my God, it's all working. Like as in like, your body's changing. So you see those things. It's not like I just had it coveted, like varicose veins for 20 years, it's not like that. But, do you know what I mean?
It's exciting. Changes are exciting.
Seeing your body change is exciting. Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make, kids.
And you? Oh, me. Clothing, look, it is exciting. My body changing was so exciting when it first started changing, and I got really excited to be shopping in the guys section at clothing stores, because previously I'd sort of feel a bit too embarrassed to go and look at the guys section. I suppose before I started transitioning, I was actually a bit afraid to be called he, because that's not how I was presenting at that time, and I wanted to be seen as she, which is it's really hard to explain, but I hope that you can kind of get that. And now that I'm presenting as male, it's certainly he all the way. But it's so much more exciting wearing guys' clothes because they're so much cooler. And the thing that I struggled with the most was the size of my hips, because guys' clothes, the pants, the hips are a lot smaller. And it took me a while through transition to actually be happy with buying guys' pants. It's also a lot more helpful buying guys' pants because there's room for your packer and your junk and stuff in there. So, it's good fun. It's good fun buying guys' stuff.
I found that with guys' pants because I've got good childbearing hips, and so yeah, exactly. And so finding a pair of guys' pants, like they would fit, and they just never quite fit. And then after about a year of testosterone, things started to body fat moved around.
Well, the interesting thing was, like, as a 6-foot dude, I could never find a pair of pants in wherever. It was kind of like, because all the 34s had sold out,
Yeah.
So, and now I'm kind of still a bit stuffed, because I can't, a 6-foot, female, they're not making pants for me. I can tell you that right now.
Really?
No.
What about skirts and dresses and summer dresses?
Oh yeah, but you've got to dress to your body shape, and I guess that's what I'm kind of finding out. I guess so.
Still finding that out.
Yeah, but great things like I went to the Architecture Institute Awards and wore this fabulous leather quilted dress.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh yeah, I can rock that and stuff, and so that's the exciting thing is you kind of get to wear those things, I guess, that you've always wanted to wear. But, I think it's about, ultimately, I think if you can mix your personality before and after transition, and I think that's not caring about what you're perceived as and more caring about who you are as a person, So I think I've kind of got there,
Yeah.
Simona, that's actually one of the best bits is being invited to a wedding, and for me, not being expected to rock up in a dress. I can actually wear the suit and not look like an outcast, It's just because it's acceptable for guys to wear a suit, wear pants.
Like I had to do a wedding before I transitioned, and I had to present as a dude, and I was just like,
yeah, it's crazy.
This is just a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah.
And because I couldn't, because it was kind of like, we don't want you to be like, the distraction.
Yeah.
I was like, gee, thanks, that's great. So I had to wear a shirt and stuff. But so now I've got a wedding to go to, I think, in Christmas, and I can just bring out that.
Frock up.
Yeah. I can wear that quilted leather dial and look fabulous.
Yeah,
It'll be
awesome.
summertime and great, and heels and whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
So, yeah.
Any big faux pas that you had early on?
Well, I did turn up to work one time, and my boss looked at my eyes with my makeup and went, "Are you all right?" And I was like, have I done a bad job on my makeup this morning? Have I, Steve? You know, so maybe that. Faux pas, yeah, probably, but you know, I've forgotten about them.
What about you, Nate? Have you
The checked shirt.
Just the checked
And look,
shirt.
that seems a great time to finish on before I talk about my faux pas.
Yep.
So thanks for coming on tonight and having a chat. You've been watching Lost in Translation.
Thank you for watching Bent TV. Don't forget to visit our website, benttv.org.au, for links to current, past and archived content, to find out how to become a member and how to proactively support Bent TV. We're also on YouTube and Twitter. Back after the short break.
Y'all need to watch under y'all damn nuts.
Welcome to another episode of Bet TV Girl Power Zone today with myself, Ginny Saraswati. To my right, we've got Carly Keneally. To my left, we've got Megsy, and then we've got Lisa-Skye as well. Going to bring you all the topics that us girls love to gossip about. Now, women in media. There's 4 of us here on Bet TV. We see so many representations out there. Where do we go from here, ladies? Like, there's so much fixation on what women wear,
Possibly
what women
not
do.
talking about how girls love gossiping, because that perpetuates gender stereotypes.
So we're not going to gossip here.
Jesus, no, gross.
It's kind of like a brainstorming session. Some people kind of, masquerade that as gossip, so apologies for using it out of context, but I think gossiping's like we're having a chat amongst the 4 of us.
Yeah. It's interesting that you use, like, feminized language, though, with, like, gossip. You never say boys gossip.
Is there anything wrong with that, though? Using feminine, connotations?
Yeah, because even before we're speaking, you, like, bang on straight away, oh, okay, this is a panel of 4 women identifying people, so we're going to put these... Because, gossip's a very loaded term. Much
so
like
if
how
it was
in the
for
media,
men, instead of saying
you wouldn't
gossip,
say,
what
like,
would you say?
We're going to gossip about sports. Which in itself is a generalisation.
But what if we were a panel of men,
Yeah.
we're going to have a chat about sports or we're going to gossip about sports, is that kind of a different loaded connotation or...?
Totally, because again, gossiping is a feminised language. You wouldn't get on TV guys saying we're going to have a gossip about sports.
And I suppose my question to that is, what is wrong with the word gossip?
That you're automatically gossip. I think is a very negative word because gossiping is speaking ill of someone behind
others.
their back.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Cool.
Clear that one up.
Clear that one up.
I know. I get weird with gender stuff.
That's cool. That's cool. For me, words are words.
I don't think
we just
it's
add
more
meaning.
of a gender thing. I think it's actually the meaning behind what the
Exactly.
word gossip is.
Yeah.
And yes, definitely, I agree. Gossip is a term where you would say it's speaking ill of others, but also I wouldn't have any qualms in saying I'm just gossiping with my girlfriends.
See, I don't gossip.
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm saying I wouldn't be, when I'm saying gossiping, like in that context, I'm not talking about others. I'm just talking about our days, our weeks, what's going on. I would use gossip
interesting.
in that sense and not talking about anyone else. I would just, as a chat.
Yeah, right.
Instead of the word chat, I think it's more fun than the word chat.
I agree, because like when you catch up with someone, you're like, so what's goss? You don't mean any kind of loaded...
I'm not a young person, so I don't say that.
You're just
It's
trying to find
maybe a hipster
information.
thing going on there.
friends, watch the gosh.
It's like, what's goss? And like, it's how you roll these
Yeah.
days. I think.
oh,
I don't think
that's another young person thing. Oh, I'm learning.
you're learning. We'll get you a diploma after this. But I don't
Diploma in
think
young
when I
person.
say goss or when I say let's just roll with this chat, I don't mean any kind of negative connotations. Just we're having a chat.
Interesting.
So there we go.
Talking stuff.
Women in media talking about goss. There we go. But speaking of women in media, like there's been a lot of stuff happening in mainstream media. Carl Stefanovic, host of the morning show on Channel 9, or today on Morning Channel 9, he wore a blue suit for a year and no one noticed, but his co-host, Lisa Wilkinson, she might wear something and people kind of critique it in certain ways. Where do we go from here, guys? Like there's so much gender stuff happening here in the Australian environment with our Prime Minister and our former predecessing Prime Minister being female. Where do we go from here?
It's actually really strange when you think about it, because when you look at gender and its portrayal in the media, it's actually two different types of gender which is actually portrayed. There's the male gender, which is portrayed as always being a strong, authoritative kind of thing, whereas with women in the media, they're portrayed as being objects. And the example was, I was actually at the airport the other day, and I'm looking at one of the news boards, and up floating the regular news, and then all of a sudden there's something about a female actress sort of showing her new body off, and it's just like, well, hang on, how is that actually newsworthy? Is she any less significant than one of the guys actually talking about something else? Is she just an object of affection, or just something to fantasise about because she's more important because she looks that way?
I think having our Prime Minister at the moment being Tony Abbott and our previous Prime Minister being Julia Gillard is probably a perfect representation of how women are treated in media. I mean, the poor love, she fell over once, and it was a little bit, but that made like headlining news, and it's like, oh, nothing to do with what her agenda is, you know, and it's everyone just harps on how she looks tired, or she might not be up to scratch because of, you know, the way her hair is or whatever. And she was overturned for much, much less than what... We've got a Prime Minister that can't even talk to his nation and give an authoritative speech to the people of his country.
We've got a Prime Minister who wears budgie smugglers.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
prime example.
Yeah. We make fun of him for that, but it's not in the context that Julia Gillard was scrutinised.
And she was overturned for much, much less than what he's doing to our country now. Sorry to get a bit political, but...
But what would happen if Julia Gillard was walking around in bikini all the time at the beach or something like that? What would be the public reaction to something like that, and how would that be portrayed in the news? Whereas you look at Tony Abbott, he can get around wearing budgie smugglers. How does that work?
Interesting.
Well, I guess the best thing we can do as consumers of media, and sometimes dabblers in it, is be the ambassador of our own opinions and not feed into using disempowering language when talking about women in the media, not going to like gossip sites and like Junkie and Gawker and all that feed into that whole thing of, you know, women are useless and pretty and frivolous and men are pundits and, you know, mouthpieces and things. And I guess just... holding everyone to equal accountability. And even if you do love a fashion blog or whatever, just making sure there's a balance of genders and things.
I also think as well, buying into that is only feeding it even more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So rather than going on that, what are you doing saying like, oh, I own this, I'm quite happy with my curves, I'd rather eat that burger than wear a size 8 dress. You know, it's like... not buying into that and understanding you as a person and being confident in portraying that to everyone. And I think that's the probably only way that you could dull that down in a sense, because fighting it, then it's going to come back in you and being like, well, you know, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Well, Leave your own example.
Well, when you think of the state of the media now, where everything's going, like reality TV is booming. There's women who are famous, or men who are famous instantly, and then they kind of feel they need to portray this image of themselves or a way to live. It's kind of, how does that influence someone who's, you know, just consuming media? How does that influence someone like that? Like, how do you consume that?
Well, if it's someone new to media, poorly. Like, it just perpetuates these horrible stereotypes. So I guess we have a duty to kind of break those stereotypes and either kill them by ignoring them and suffocating them, or spectrum banging and going the entire other way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have all these plans to infiltrate women in media and to boost
Hashtag girl power.
Hashtag girl power.
Jesus Christ.
The young kids here on Bet TV. This is us signing off.
That's all we have time for. My name is Gavin Henderson and you've been watching Bent TV. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.